We've tried to keep you updated on the case against Jeffrey Epstein and against his alleged co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, Maxwell seems to be undergoing kind of the same treatment as Epstein. No, there's been a lot of speculation about her treatment in prison. Now, the federal authorities said yesterday that they took Epstein's associate Ghislaine Maxwell's bed sheets and clothes to prevent her from hurting herself. They say that Maxwell is in, quote, paper clothing. I don't actually know what that looks like. She has a roommate at all times and under 24-hour surveillance. So it's probably unpleasant for Ghislaine Maxwell. I saw a joke saying, wow, death by 1,000 paper cuts, huh? Which is forthcoming. I'm just joking. But it just goes to show that they're afraid. I mean, they don't generally do this, of course, based on what happened to Epstein, but they don't generally do this unless they have a probable cause to assume that somebody might need to be on suicide watch. And one of the most controversial things about Jeffrey Epstein's death is he was suicidal, tried to commit suicide, then was on suicide watch, then placed off suicide watch conveniently just before he died in prison. So this is one of the things where I really believe if something happens to Ghislaine Maxwell, if she dies in prison, that will, I don't know, I think people will lose it. And they should, because that is like such an abdication from the Bureau of Prisons, from the federal authorities, from any real justice for any of these victims. So huge amount of pressure on Attorney General Bill Barr, who was interviewed by ABC News yesterday. He said, yes, we're taking all the precautions. I've been personally briefed on the matter and all of that. So we'll see, but a very familiar script from the last time around. Yeah, well, that's the thing, is it's not like last time they didn't know that Epstein was potentially suicidal. They knew. And here you have, one of the most high profile, if not the most high profile person in all of American prisons, and still you let your guard down enough so that he's able to kill himself, apparently, allegedly. And so the fact that, they know that she's potentially suicidal doesn't necessarily ultimately mean anything. I mean, you think about the fact that here was someone who was living the highest life you could possibly up until a week ago.
In the highest, most elite echelon, sectors of society, up until a week ago, hiding out at her luxury abode, globe-trotting all over with her friends and government elites and global elites, etc. So to go from that to facing what she's facing in prison, I don't think it's any surprise that she would be in that state of mind.
No, absolutely. And also, she's actually attained counsel. So good for her. She has so much money that she has... This is so disgusting to me. Just outright corruption. Wild. She has hired the prosecutor who put El Chapo in prison. So the prosecutor, who used to work assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, who put El Chapo and his team, he's been lauded. They won awards for putting El Chapo behind bars. Now he went to private practice, and he's now defending Ghislaine Maxwell. He knows the in and outs of the Southern District of New York's court, basically negotiating with his old colleagues. I mean, what is wrong with you? You represent a known, alleged for the lawyers, sex trafficker and, rapist, victimizer that Ghislaine Maxwell is. And it's just money. It's all money talk. She has the high-powered legal counsel, and none of us say a word that this guy who was supposed to be a patriot who put El Chapo in prison is now defending Ghislaine Maxwell. I think it's disgusting.
Well, and look, everybody's entitled to a defense. Like, that's definitely the case. I'm
talking about him, not her.
It exposes also the lack of actual justice and equal application of the law within our society, which is one of the other important themes and threads in the Epstein case.
Yes.
If you have access to money...
This is how he got away the first time.
This is how he got... This is how, when he was actually convicted, he ends up with this sweetheart deal with a slap on the wrist where they violate the law and the rights of the victims in the way that they undertake this settlement, because he could afford to have the most high-powered, well-connected lawyers in the country, and by the way, potentially maybe had some, some reason why they may want to work with him and keep all of this under wraps as well, allegedly, potentially. We'll see what comes out of that. But I mean, we're all looking to see, what do we learn from this? Not as just like some salacious thing, but because, number one, first and foremost, the survivors deserve to have justice. Number two, we need to know who was complicit in this. How high did this go? How far reaching did it go? Who knew what and when? Who was involved in this web of complicity? Because from the information that we have, the allegations that have been made, we're talking about foreign heads of state. We're talking about, the highest echelons of American and global society. And so as a way of understanding how these people protect each other in this instance and God knows how many others. That's why we need to know the truth.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep everybody updated. Apparently, she's scheduled for an arraignment on Tuesday in court. Going to be watching that very closely. We'll have more Rising for you after this.